Hey everyone, welcome back to another Fall Obsession podcast. My name is Sam Thrash. I'm your show host over here. Thank you guys for tuning into this episode. This podcast is probably one of the most important ones that we've done in a very long time, certainly this year, maybe ever, over a very important topic. Right now, 2025, we are all seeing posts on social media, information coming out of Utah Senator Mike Lee's office over this public land sale that is being proposed by Senator Lee. And if you haven't heard about this, you need to go look it up. You need to keep this episode rolling and educate yourself as a hunter, as an outdoorsman, about somebody who cares about the future of hunting in the outdoors. You need to know what's going on with this one because this can affect everybody in some way, shape, or form. And we get into it in this podcast. I'm joined this week by John Stallone from HOWL for Wildlife and my good friend from down here in Texas, Jesse Johnson. They both come together with me in this podcast to talk about this situation. John's been on the show before. We've talked about different conservation issues, a lot of stuff back when Proposition 127 was on the docket and everything up in Colorado. This is a huge deal. And in my opinion, Senator Lee has some ulterior motives. We actually talk about that in this podcast that are leading him from just completely killing this bill altogether. The opposition that hunters and outdoorsmen are putting out there is strong. It is proving to be effective so far, but don't back down, I guess is what I'll say here in the intro. Don't take these quote unquote changes that he put out the other day and accept those as a win. Don't compromise, right? That's essentially what he's asking us to do as far as giving up our public lands. He was trying to take a mile and we stood up, and now he's coming back and trying to convince us that, all right, well, I won't take a mile, I'll just take an inch instead. Don't compromise. Not 1 inch, not 1 acre. Keep it public. Public land is not for sale. And Senator Lee does not own it. It is not his land to sell. So we talk about this topic. I could get heated up and fired up here in just the intro about it, but John, Jesse, and I dive in deep and we really unpack this and talk about all the different impacts and results that could stem from this. So, very educational podcast. We worked hard to get this one out to you guys as soon as possible after we recorded it. So, please pay attention. This is an important matter. Be sure that you guys are supporting HOWL for Wildlife, even if you can't pay for the $30 a year membership. They have free memberships you guys can get a hold of. You have to support organizations that can advocate at levels that you can't. Jesse and I are both supporters of HOWL for Wildlife, and we encourage you guys to do the same. It's very important. Last thing that I'll say here in the intro before I do the housekeeping portion is there is a way for you guys to contact your senators and let them know that they need to vote no on the sale of public lands. I've contacted mine. Jesse's contacted his. We are doing everything we can as just your everyday hunters and outdoorsmen to try to help shut this thing down. If you just call the number for the U.S. Capitol switchboard and just ask to speak to your senator, they will just put you straight through their office. It could not be simpler. Literally in like a minute, you can leave them a voicemail. You can pen them an email if you want, or you can go to HOWL for Wildlife's website and participate in their action tab that they have on there, and they will help you pen an email, shoot a video, and do all that kind of stuff for them. But the number for the U.S. Capitol switchboard is 202-224-3121. If you call that number, you will have somebody answer the phone that'll ask you who your senator is. You tell them who it is, and they put you right through the office. You can leave a message or do whatever from there. Take the time to do that. Literally take a minute or two out of your day to advocate for and show your support and give your stance for the things that you love, being hunting in the outdoors. Like I said, I could get fired up in just the intro right here and just go ahead and lay into it, but I will save it for the conversation because we unpack it in detail for you guys. But for the housekeeping, before we get started, thank you guys again for streaming one of our podcast episodes. Whatever platform you are listening or watching this on, please hit that follow or subscribe button for me, whatever's up there. That way you guys know every time that we drop new podcast episodes. If you like watching the podcast videos, those can be found on our YouTube channel. We typically drop those the same week or close to in relation to the audio version of every episode. Another cool thing that we've unlocked here at Fall Obsession, I know I'm a little bit behind the times, but we're actually about to start doing some of our podcast episodes live on our YouTube. So when we record virtually with guests, that stream is going to be shared live on the YouTube channel. We'll be sure that we give you guys a heads up on the social media pages before we do that. But be sure, like I said, that you're subscribed to the YouTube. We got a lot of awesome videos on there aside from the podcast. But you guys can have a chance to maybe tune into some live shows the same evenings that we're recording and everything. So that would be pretty cool. Social media, major platforms. If you're active on them, we are probably there as well. Go follow Fall Obsession. We post daily, regular updates from the field, from our team, from our shows, our productions, all that kind of stuff. Go to the website, fallobsession.com. All of our content filters through there, and you can check out some of our other educational items, such as our articles, our gear reviews, our wild game recipes, that kind of stuff. It's all on there for you guys. And be sure that you guys go check out Carbon TV if you haven't already. Carbon TV is like Netflix for hunting, is what I tell folks, except it's free for you guys. You don't even have to put in your credit card information. You can just start streaming hundreds of different hunting shows, podcasts, films, videos, all that kind of stuff directly from Carbon TV. You can download the app, you can put it on your smart TV, pull it up on your computer, tablet, whatever it might be, and you will find 4 different hunting shows and Fall Obsession Productions streaming on Carbon TV. This podcast, our staff-inspired video podcast series called Couch Chats, is on Carbon TV, as well as our 2 different hunting shows, Texas Dirt and Midwest Mindset. Those are Fall Obsession Productions, and again, you can find them on Carbon TV. All right, without any further delay, let's get to this conversation over a very important conservation issue with John Stallone and Jesse Johnson. You guys are listening to another Fall Obsession podcast.
Oh, you got her, dude. She's down. Let's go.
Dude, I just shot a deer of a lifetime.
Freaking smoked him.
One with nature, and if you're a believer, one with God.
Definitely gets your heart pumping. Boy, you are in trouble.
Fall Obsession Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to another Fall Obsession Podcast episode. I'm Sam, hosting you guys this week. Got a couple of avid hunters and outdoorsmen with me. Good friend of mine from down here in Texas, Jesse Johnson. He's back on the podcast with me. Welcome back, man. Happy to have you.
Yes, sir. Excited to be here.
And then we have Mr. John Stallone from HOWL for Wildlife join us again. I think this is the 3rd time I've had you on the show now, man. So welcome back.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. Thank you. I've actually had people reach out to me, say, I heard you on Fall Obsession.
All right. Love to hear it.
That's good. That's good, man. At least people are listening,
Yeah.
You know, usually when they see something in the tagline or the title that says something about advocacy or conservation, they're like, and everybody falls asleep. I mean, I saw it a lot in my podcast for years when every time I did something like that, I mean, we'd go from like 10,000 downloads to like 500. It was crazy on how much people didn't care, but it's slowly but surely starting to kind of go the opposite direction.
That's what I was going to say. I feel like
Still not
there's kind of a trend, especially, I mean, the current day and age of social media, and I feel like hunters are getting a whole lot more comfortable sharing their opinions on everything and and advocating, right, for the rights to hunt and fish and all the things that they love, right? It's kind of going the other way, and I think more people are paying attention. I
think it's a necessity now. They're starting to see that it's important. Like, hey, we can no longer sit back on our hocks and hope that somebody else is going to take care of it for us. So we better speak up or we're going to lose it, And there's more and more of that coming around. Like it, especially these last 4 years, like, the political climate was ripe for it, and there was attacks on every level, and it was something else. And we also saw it in mainstream politics where like outlandish stuff was getting passed. Things that wouldn't anybody who had any kind of common sense would be like, yeah, that's ridiculous. And then, all of a sudden we have, men playing in girls' sports and, all kinds of crazy crap like that. And so, if that stuff can fly, then what's, the chances of us losing an elk hunt or public land or anything it's just not off the table anymore. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and I think also just in the podcast world too, no nobody has time to read articles these days, right? Or a
true.
lot fewer people want to do their own research on stuff when they can just put in an earbud and turn on a show and get all the information. So that, at least for a podcast like ours, I feel like that works in our favor. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's me in a nutshell. I hate reading. Like, I hate it with a passion and I suck at it. So I'm, uh, I could fall asleep after reading a half a paragraph, but I could listen to podcasts all day long. I could listen to radio shows, whatever.
Oh,
So
I think you're
audiobooks.
I think you're seeing too, like our generation is the first social media hunter generation, and
Mhm.
that generation is getting older, and we're starting to realize it's not just about the kill, it's not just about that, like it's preserving this and passing it on to our kids. So we're seeing that first internet present hunter group start maturing and realizing, hey, we got to get involved in this stuff.
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
And it's changed a lot, like in the last 10 years it's even obviously more than that because social media has been around longer than 10 years, but let's go back to like 2015, 2014. Um, you know, Social media was all about who can show the best grip and grins, who can have the most outlandish kill shots and all kinds of stuff because that's what sold merchandise and sold stuff because we thought you were talking to just hunters, right? And you had this idea, well, I'm going to do what hunters are interested in or seemingly interested in. Not everybody was interested in that stuff, but it's just like watching a TV show or whatever. Back then, you'd have the hoorahs, and then you'd have the guy like, well, I was able to do this because of this product, So there
Right.
was there was a lot of that going on, and it took a really hard turn. We had to have a really quick flip, but 5 years later in like 2020, then all of a sudden it started to be like, whoa, everything's gone downhill in this. We got to watch what we're saying. We're not talking just to, my buddy down the block who would be happy with me, throwing a deer on the hood of the truck, whatever,
Right.
you know. So yeah, that a lot of that's gone away, and a lot of it's. I'm glad that it's gone away in a lot of ways.
Sure.
Because the power lies within that middle ground. The we've talked about this before, Sam, that
Hmm.
there's 5% anti-hunting, 5% hunting, and it's that 90% in between that we need to not convince. I don't want to convince anybody. It's convincing sounds like it's we're trying to pull the wool over people's eyes, but we have to share the truths with them. We have to have them have an understanding of who we are, why we do what we do, and look at the human intrinsic values of what hunting is, not just the blood sport, So
No, 100%. Yeah, we've talked about that before. Like you said, I mean, Proposition 127 in Colorado was a prime example of educating those people
exactly.
that are on that middle ground and everything. And the antis spend a lot of time and money
Hmm.
and have a lot, and I think this was a big topic of one of our previous episodes, but they spend a lot of money and can easily sway the people who don't have a dog in the fight, right? So it's
True.
a uphill battle for hunters and outdoorsmen to be able to, you know, grind the other way and accomplish the same thing as far as just, a factual education on the matter, a science-based
Right.
education on the matter. But yeah,
Well, that's
we
boring too, like
yeah,
people don't want to hear the facts. They don't want to hear, they want to see the sensationalized, the virtual rubbernecking is what really.
right.
So that's why they have a much easier job than we do But that doesn't mean we should quit, because obviously you just brought up 127. If we don't quit, if most people, given the correct information, most people, not everybody, but most people will make the right decision.
Yeah.
They'll they'll decide, they'll lean to the side of common sense and what's good, not necessarily, the emotionally charged BS that gets popped out there by anti-hunting. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I think a great example of it is like I've never in my life cared about, not like it didn't care, but if I saw an article about something for firefighters,
Hmm.
I would never read that. But now that I'm friends with Sam and a local change in how firefighters are paid or something, I want to read it because I want what's best for Sam. I'm like, I love Sam's family. I want what's best. So if you can switch that to where somebody's at a voting post and they're about to vote and they say, oh, I want so and so to be able to keep hunting with their family. And I have a good impression of them. So I'm going to check yes for that right.
Right.
Yeah.
That's if you can capture your network of 25, 30 people, then you can totally change and preserve things that we love to do. It's about keeping that good mental image with those people.
Sure. And how do you do that? You have conversations, you share what you do with the people that are around you, at work, whatever. The people that you interact with, you have that discourse with them, you have that, that understanding. You might share meals with them, invite them over to barbecue, give them, game meat, whatever. That's how you win the hearts and minds of people who don't know, by giving them a reason to care.
Right.
So,
And just putting good image in front of them. I mean, we're all bow hunters. We know the traumatic death of an arrow to the lungs. We know how gory that is. And I cringe when I see guys post pictures with an arrow hanging out of a deer because 90% of the population, they're just like, whoa, I don't
mhm.
want to see that. We get it. We understand it. And I don't want to sugarcoat that. But I've had a lot of conversations with people saying, hey, is that a mental image that's going to make people favor us? Or are they going to step back and be like, oh, that was kind of harsh? So thinking about what you put out there to
Sure,
represent all of us is so important.
sure, 100%. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And just the respect that comes with, respecting the animals that we pursue, all the way through the kill and post kill and all that kind of stuff. To your point, Jesse, it goes back to the image that's perceived. And I mean, we could spend plenty of time here talking about in recent years and everything, some of the people who have give hunters a bad name for
Hmm.
doing some not so smart stuff in that regard and everything. And whenever we see that, I feel like enough people do a good enough job of it as far as calling them on their mistakes. And hey, we don't condone that. We don't
Right,
condone that dummy dragging that wolf behind his truck through town,
right.
whenever that was a year or two ago, like all that kind of stuff. Like that's unacceptable. That's not the kind of hunting or ethics that we want to promote. So,
Sure.
Hey guys, sorry to cut y'all off from the conversation. We'll get back to it in just a second. But first, I want to tell you guys about Hoot Camo. Hoot Camo is one of the best camouflage brands out there for the blue collar hunter. The prices, you can't beat them. The patterns are extremely versatile. They work in so many different environments. I have worn Hoot Camo hunting whitetails, hogs, and turkeys down here in the hardwoods, the mesquites, the scrub brush of Texas. I've worn it in the flatland plains of eastern Colorado hunting mule deer. I've even worn it in the mountains of central Idaho hunting elk. It works in so many different places. It is extremely high quality gear, extremely warm, holds up well against the elements. You cannot beat it. Go to hootcamo.com, use the code FallObsession15 on your next order, no matter how big or small it is, and check out everything that Hoot Camo has on there for you guys.
Sure. Oh, let me interject something here, because this is a perfect time to talk about this. Understand the way social media algorithms work.
mhm.
You just said we call them out. We need to be sure, or we need to, when we call out somebody, we should be sending them a direct message and not posting a comment. It's like, oh yeah, you want to say, oh, you're an idiot, whatever. I can't believe you did that, because that's the way you feel. But if you don't want that image to turn into a viral deal, and she gets enough direct messages
Wow.
about how stupid they're being, they might just take it down right away, and then
Yeah.
it doesn't become an issue, you
Yeah.
know. So
Yeah, you
think about those things
That's a
when
good
you're out
point.
there trying to police our regime here, but or our ranks rather. But anyway,
Unfortunately, there is people out there that they know what to post to create 400 comments, and they don't
sure,
care the bad cloud it creates. But I
there's a
like
lot.
what you said.
There's a
I've never
lot.
thought about that. Maybe you just comment, say something, sent you a DM of my opinion of this, and then you leave it at that, or just direct message them. But I
Yep.
think that's great. I've never thought about it from that angle because you're
Yep.
giving them what you want if you comment on it.
Yeah, they want their 15 minutes of fame, and whether it's positive or negative, there's a lot of that out there, unfortunately. And there's bots too that
Yeah.
unfortunately troll for that stuff, and they're like, "Oh, this is going to be super polarizing. I'm just going to sit back here and watch the political football go back and forth," and so
It's like the
yeah.
news media knows what to feed us,
Oh
you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
get us fired up.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So let's not go down that rabbit trail.
they make a living on that. Huh?
I was gonna add before we move on, just it's worked in both, it can work in both ways because especially back when we were, advocating for vote no on 127 last
Mm.
year, I can think of multiple posts on our own social media pages that hit those algorithms just right, and then the antis got on there and they started sharing their opinions.
Wow, let them.
And that's what I was
Let the
like.
crazy
I
people.
responded to every comment. I'm like, this is great. Like they are
Yeah,
feeding into the algorithm, and more people are going to see this post. I
sure.
know this person that I'm having this debate with on social media, like we talked about earlier. I'm not going to change their mind. I
Oh
know
yeah,
that, but I'm answering and responding to them with factual information so that hopefully the person who sees this pop up in their feed because it's now getting popular in the algorithm, hopefully they
right.
can educate themselves on it because of it. So.
Yep, exactly. And then all their talking points get knocked down, and a proven scientific explanation for gets introduced, and people get to see that.
Oh yeah.
It definitely works the other way, and for our benefit. But you got to think about the other stuff.
Oh
So,
yeah. You got to
positive
analyze
thing,
it.
you want it to go viral, obviously. So,
Yeah.
but anyways,
Well,
public lands.
public lands, we have a topic in mind for this episode, and it is something that, man, even I think in the last even just 2 days, I want to say less than that, I have seen my social media feed just turn over, and it is just hot and heavy with this stuff. And we've posted stuff as Fall Obsession regarding it and everything, and now putting this episode out. But um, I guess I'll just start with you, John, and where Hal is in this picture of the public land sale thing, or um, perhaps we're talking more just directly with you as a hunter and outdoorsman over this. But I want to see if
Yeah.
what's on Hal's radar with this.
Well, we're closely monitoring it. Charles has been talking, well, almost hourly with different people and so on and so forth. So much to the point that he's camping right now and he's got his Starlink set up so he can talk. He
That's
can
one
talk
heck
to
of a
people.
camping trip right there.
So yeah, so he can continue to fight the fight. I mean, the 30,000 foot view of what's going on, obviously, most people are already kind of, maybe I'm assuming most people, it just seems that way because, like you said, our social medias are blowing up, but there's so many people that are disconnected and don't understand and don't know.
Yeah.
Senator Mike Lee, he is the committee chair he's the environmental committee chair. I could get into the whole thing, but basically he has put a for lack of better terminology, like a stipulation in the new budget bill. And it basically reads that up to 3/4% of the entire public land system could be sold off. And it's being touted as affordable housing, which it makes zero sense as affordable housing because most of these places that are on the map for sale are not going to become affordable housing. Number one, they're going to
No,
become,
not at all.
if they're going to
Well,
become housing at all,
yeah.
yeah, they're going to be, ranchettes and high dollar places. They're not going to be, a affordable condo. It's not. The, I've said this before. The the problem that we have and then that we need affordable housing is mostly in the inner cities and the metropolis type areas.
Mhm.
And the people that are living in these areas are not going to move out to the country. They're not going to move out to where these lands are available because it doesn't make sense for them. If their jobs are here, their job, what they, it's in the city. That's why they live there to begin with, or they have, I mean, I'm sure there's a multitude of reasons, but they're not going to go out to go. That's where the problem is for affordable housing. There's no affordable housing problem in the suburbs where people are, or rural areas, because those people already they're there, and there's no need for extra housing. The
Mhm.
other thing is that I looked at, um, I don't remember if it was like the second, uh, uh, apart from buying your first home, I think the second home is like the number one real estate, residential real estate market is people buying a second home for like your VRBOs and your Airbnbs. Like it's people buying cabins and, just investment properties. So if there was a housing problem and there wasn't enough houses for people, then this wouldn't even be a situation. I mean, that the
Right.
VR Airbnb market is giant. Like it's giant. I don't even stay in hotels anymore. I literally look on those everywhere I go
Mhm.
worldwide. So then the other thing I saw too was there's a statistic, and I don't remember exactly what it is, but the American population is not growing. It's it's actually declining a little bit. And the reason that we have an influx of people is because we had 80, 90 million people or whatever the heck the number is. I don't know off the top of my head, come in from, immigrate here from when the borders were wide open
Right.
in the last administration. So that's why there's a need for some housing because of that situation. Before that, there wasn't a need. So it's like it's crazy to me. And I think everybody listening to this podcast probably already knows that selling off public lands is a bad deal for hunters and anglers and recreationalists and people who enjoy just going outside and enjoying the you know public lands in general, biking, mountain biking, hiking, whatever, it doesn't matter. Um, so I don't necessarily think we need to beat that horse over the head and keep killing it. It's already dead. People already understand that. I think what people need to realize um, is that one, they're called public lands and they're not owned by the federal government. They're managed by the federal government.
Right.
Then the Senator Mike Lee keeps saying, "Oh, I don't want the feds to own land anymore." Well, they don't own it. We own it.
Yeah.
Like what he's proposing is he wants to take your land and sell it back to you. It's pretty cut and dry. It's
Well,
pretty stupid.
he's not selling it back to us. That's the
Well,
thing.
that's the way he's saying it, though.
I know, but and I looked at and I have not done my own research to back this up or anything, but I saw a post today. I shared it on our own social media pages just about Mike Lee's donors
Oh yeah,
and everything. And
BlackRock.
yeah, the BlackRock, the BlackRock group, they private. I'm reading it here in front of me, is a private equity firm that invests in real estate. They are one of his biggest donors. Harlan Crow, a
Yep.
billionaire real estate developer, one of his biggest donors.
Right.
Bill Gates is one of the largest private
Right.
farmland owners in the country.
Bill Gates.
Microsoft is one of Mike Lee's biggest donors. It's like, man, he can say whatever he wants, and this is as political as this show ever gets. I'm gonna throw that out
I
there too.
know.
I don't like talking politics on our show, but you cannot convince me that if he were to get this through, he's not going to have some donors lining his pockets. There's
I
no
know.
way.
So, and I don't know with the new changes that he made, because they I don't know if you know this or not, but the original verbiage, there was nothing written in there that said anything about affordable housing. The word affordable never was in the bill. Okay. But yet he keeps touting affordable housing.
Hmm.
There there was a 10-year provision in there. So let's say, I have the money and I go in and I buy up 10,000 acres. I could sit on that land for 10 years. And then in 10 years, I could do whatever the hell I want with it. So the having to use it for whatever you bought it for originally, and some of it was set aside for housing, some of it set aside for other stuff. Okay, just goes out the door in 10 years. So a big group like, BlackRock or whatever that can afford to sit on something for 10 years, they could do whatever they want with it. It could become a resort. It could become whatever. Then, the other thing about it was only 5% of the sale of would go back to the public land. So right now, according to FLIPMA, which is already in place to sell and dispose of public lands or do land transfers, that is a very great system. It's been utilized and used since I don't remember when it was instated, but that takes in, public comment, and it's brings in all the stakeholders. It's a very well-rounded, well thought out system. And with that, so like if I sold off 100 acres of land, I would either get 100 acres somewhere else to, offset that. Like I could say trade this land for that land, or if I sell this land, 100% of the proceeds would go back into public land.
Hey, folks, if you guys are in the North Texas area like I am, then you need to go to Bear River Archery and Pro Shop in Van Alstyne, Texas. Justin and the guys up there have an incredible operation set up. They will take great care of you and all of your archery needs. They are the official bow shop in North Texas of Fall Obsession. I love going there, and I'm picky. If you guys know me, I am very selective on who I let work on my bow. I will let Justin work on my bow. They do great stuff. Check out Bear River Archery and let them know that Fall Obsession sent you.
Either buying other land or improving the land that you have. That none of that was in there. Only 5% is supposed to go back to public lands. There was no, again, this is going in a budget bill. There was no provisions in there or any language in there that said that the money was going to go to fixing the budget. So even those people that were like, "Oh yeah, hey, we're gonna knock down this, how many $1 trillion deficit that we have," it wasn't going towards that.
No.
It
And
was
even if it did, it's not even putting a dent in it, man. I
it's
mean,
not
come
it's
on.
not it's not putting a dent. And I don't know. It's just nothing about it was good. I know he just came back out, and I'm gonna read this. Well, this is what he tweeted. I think it was yesterday. Thanks to the American people. Here's what I plan to do. I'm going to remove all the Forest Service land. We're not selling off our forests. Number two, significantly reduce the amount of BLM land in the bill. Only the land within 5 miles of the population centers is eligible. Then he's going to establish, number three is, I'm going to establish freedom zones to ensure these lands benefit the American families. 4, protect our farmers, ranchers, and recreational users. They come first. So, first off, what the frick is a freedom zone? You're gonna
I read
take the
that.
freedom to go on land that I am already free to go on. Like
That
that's
that that was one of my first questions. I was like, what are we doing here?
yeah,
What is this thing?
We have the ultimate freedom zone right now.
Yeah,
yeah,
come
yeah,
on, man.
yeah. I mean, it's pretty ridiculous. I mean, everything he says there, you could see that it's just uh, a ploy to get people on board with this because it even says, I'm doing everything I can to support President Trump. So he's trying to rally President Trump supporters too. Like, oh, it's got to be good because it's associated with President Trump. And actually, this is something I definitely want to talk about, and we'll get into it here a little bit because I think this is probably the most important part of what's going on. But let me finish my thought here. If I can remember what my thought was, I'm getting too old for this stuff. But the nothing what this guy says it is truthful. Like everything is just like a con. He's a con artist, in my opinion. He's a propaganda and clickbait specialist, and everything that he puts out there. I mean, if you go to like X and you look at the comments, everybody's against you. Every single body's against you. There's not a single person on there that's like, yeah, you're doing the right thing for us. And there's not a single person commenting on there that says that. And you keep pushing this thing. It's obvious you have an investment in there somehow, right? There's a vested interest somehow. You are going to on the back end make a shit ton of money or because like you said, like look at his donors, look at like there's somebody pulling your strings to try to get this to happen. So we know it's a bad deal. We know it's a bad deal. And I think it sucks that you're trying to get, and I don't know. I like, hey, I'll tell you right now, I voted for Trump, but and this is what I wanted to talk about. Like I keep seeing, well, you got what you voted. You've got what you voted for. I keep seeing that comment. I keep seeing the, um, we should have voted for somebody else or whatever. All this stuff, I don't know it would be any different if we had a different president because on her campaign trail, Kamala Harris was talking about the same stuff. She was talking about selling off public lands and that we needed affordable housing. She was literally saying the same crap. Okay. And I'm not saying this to defend the fact that I'm a Republican or that I'm conservative. But when I vote for a candidate, when I vote for somebody, I don't agree wholeheartedly with everything they're touting, with everything they're saying.
Right.
It's like more than half the time, it's like I'm just picking the lesser of two evils.
100%.
I agree with this person most of the time, but I don't agree with them all the time. And so that's why it's very important for us hunters, outdoorsmen, all the recreational. We need to look at stuff for the issue, for what it is, and not for where it originated from. I had this, I guess I'll call it an argument. Joe Rogan had reposted my post when I was calling the senator, and I got a lot of people that I wasn't following or followed me commenting, and there was a lot of this bashing. Oh, see, I hope I hope they take your public lands away. You voted for that, dictator and this and that, and I'm like, wait a second. I said, are you an outdoorsman? Okay, if you're an outdoorsman and you know who I am, and you might not, I don't know, but you may have heard of HOWL, you may not have heard of HOWL, but on a daily basis, I am fighting for hunting, conservation, fishing, public lands. I deal with this stuff on a daily basis. And I will tell you unequivocally that, and I went back and I've been saying 97%, but it's almost 99%. Almost 99%, 98 point something percent of the bills that I deal with that are coming from anti-hunting originate on the left. Again, I'm not saying this because I'm trying to, you know, put one side down or the other. What I am, you know, and they're the people that say this kind of stuff, like their memory must be really short lived. Like it was just, you know, on the ballot in Colorado, okay, not too long ago, big stink about it. That originated on the left. Like that didn't come from quote unquote Republican or didn't come.
Right.
It came from, you know, it came from an anti-hunting, very leftist, very liberal demographic. And that's what they were catering it to. And again, I'm bringing it up because you say things. I knew that, you know, JD Vance talked about it during the vice president debate. I knew that there was a possibility that public lands might be an issue with Republicans because Republicans are always pushing, you know, like overdevelopment on public lands. But Democrats are always pushing rewilding, the 30-30 initiative, which effectively does the same thing. It removes you and me from the land that we have inalienable rights to. It removes hunting and fishing. It removes a recreation. You know, there might be different viewpoints of it. You know, one might be like kind of like a preservationist, and one might be like, you know, hey, let's just milk this thing dry. Like, I don't agree with either one of them. And so to say stuff like this, to me, it's very, um, it's not, it's not productive in any way, shape, or form. And I like we need to look at the issues as they come up and evaluate them for the merits that they have, and either support them or attack them, you know, as they come up. It shouldn't be like, oh, yo, that's a, you know, a liberal agenda and it originated over there, so let's not support it. Or, oh, it came from, you know, Donald Trump's camp, we should support it. No, it doesn't. You know, if we care about hunting and fishing, we need to look at each individual thing as it comes up and support it or fight it according to what's going on. So, yeah, I hate that. I hate that whole. It's become a way more politically charged than it should have been, and I feel like I don't know if I did a great job of explaining myself and talking about it, but
You did.
that's my viewpoint on it, and I think it should be something that that we acknowledge and start looking at the bigger picture. The tribalism is not going to get us anywhere. All it's going to do is keep dividing the country. And I'm here's my tinfoil hat. I'm of the camp that division is what they want, because constant turmoil is a way to make money,
Mhm.
one way or another. So,
Yeah. It's you can, and I'm not trying to turn this into a conversation about, you know, the president or elections, politicians, all that kind of stuff, but you can still support a Republican president
sure,
if that's the way that you lean in your political stance. You can still support a Republican president and not support this.
right,
And
exactly.
I agree. I think that Senator Lee might be, with some of his comments, he's grasping at straws to a point
100%.
and trying to, you know, tag the president's name onto it to get some
Dissuade
more
people's
people
minds. Yeah.
on board. And I like my message to people, especially after what came out today or yesterday, whenever it was, because we sent that message. I've heard y'all, changes are coming. It's like,
Oh yeah,
okay,
the Hunter Nation one.
yeah, Hunter Nation, changes are coming. It's
Yeah,
like,
we could
oh,
talk about that off air. I don't want to talk
okay.
about that on air.
All right, we'll move past that. But he sends that and he follows it up with, okay, here are the changes, and you read it for us. You already talked about what that message said, and it's like, man, you don't get it.
Hmm.
We don't want any of it. We're not
Right.
gonna compromise on this. This it's not to us, to the people, to the American outdoorsman. It's not up for discussion. It's
Right.
not up for debate. We don't want it, and we're making that very clear to you that we don't want it.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. Now, and he's been putting stuff up like that for a number of reasons, in my opinion. And I'm not a political genius in any way, shape, or form, but he's putting stuff up like that because people will see that, and he's hoping some people take their foot off the gas. You know, hey, that's why you saw some of these people about the bird rule. We can talk about that a little bit too. Um, there's a rule called the bird rule that basically removes any extraneous um, stuff that's not supposed to be in. Let's put it in layman's terms. Stuff that's not supposed to be in a reconciliation bill or tax bill. Um, and all the stuff that he was trying to do did not follow that. So that it got removed because of that, but he's putting it back in. And the problem with that is people see, oh, cool, yay, we won. So they stop trying, but he knows that. He knew that going in.
Yeah.
And, just like he knew to put it in there at midnight because it's always a smoke and mirrors thing. It's always when people not watching. And unfortunately, it's like a big popularity contest. And, they're trying who's trying to be the most popular and then who's making the back end deals and trying, there's a lot of crazy bullshit way above our pay grade that we could talk about. And my level of comprehension on it. But it's like, well, anyway, I don't want to put my face in my mouth, but there's a lot of stuff going on that we just don't understand. But what we need to do understand is what they're trying to do, what they're trying to accomplish. We need to keep our eye on the ball, keep hammering them, keep sending emails, making phone calls, sending videos, whatever you need to do to let the people that are making decisions that are our elected officials that we elected to support, to represent us, we need to let them know what we want.
Mm-hmm.
And in theory, if we let them know what we want, they will do what we ask them to do because they want to get reelected. They want to keep their position. Some of them, like Mike Lee, I don't know. I think he's got a much bigger dog in the fight where he's like, I don't care. I'm gonna be the most unpopular guy in the whole world, but I'm gonna be stupid rich afterwards. So I don't know. I'm just speculating there. That's just, you could take that out of context, but or listen to that for however you want to hear it. But I think there's something going on, and he's going to do what he wants to do, no matter what the people say. But it's everybody else that we need to talk to.
Absolutely.
So,
John, can you touch on, something I'm realizing? Everybody wants to go to the big election for a president, but how important local elections are to keep people from like this representing us and being able to put these bills in. Everybody wants to go vote for their presidential campaign, but they need to get involved in their local elections and everything as well as to prevent stuff like this.
yeah, and it's tough. It is super important for us all to um, put people in place to represent us that are going to do the best job possible. But and I'm sure if you've listened to Joe Rogan or some of these other commentators and people have big platforms, they talk about the the low level politician that gets paid $30,000 a year. So the temptation is really high. You're getting paid $30,000 a year for your public service, but you can make an additional $200,000 a year if you take some money put it in your back pocket to do the bidding of big business or whatever. So there's a lot of that goes on. And
Hey guys, Trophy Edits is a Fall Obsession podcast partner. We all have mounts on our walls that represent a significant moment, a significant harvest in the woods for each and every one of us, and photographs can do the same. I'm sure you guys have pictures from years past, hunting with loved ones or being in the woods with family and friends that also represent those big moments. And what Trophy Edits does is they showcase those moments for you guys, just absolutely make your pictures explode and to the level that you guys can put them on the wall and also have that memory forever represented in your home, your office, your man cave, whatever it might be. Give Trophy Edits a chance to do the work for you guys. And again, they make those pictures just absolutely awesome with their professional team of editors. So go to Trophy Edits website. The link is in the podcast description. That lets them know that you guys came from us. And use the code FALLOBSESSION at checkout to save you guys some money.
I don't know. I don't know if any of us have the moral compass or the litmus paper test to find the right people to do the right thing. So, that being said, you can only do what you're capable of doing, and you have to just do due diligence. And my God, I can't speak. You gotta look at all the candidates and kind of, pick apart what they're about and what they're saying, what their past has shown, what their track record is. And it's a lot of work. Let's face it, most of us don't have the time. We were just talking about that in the beginning. Most of us want to listen to a podcast while we're working out. We don't want to, read before we go to bed or whatever. It's a very now mentality. I mean, social media and the almighty cell phone, has changed that about us in the human race. And I'm old enough to know that beforehand it was different than it is now. I was lucky enough to grow up in this era and with the cell phone and all that stuff, but I also saw all that stuff beforehand, and it's crazy how people will make decisions off of taglines. And I can't even myself, like, I can't tell you how many times I've come home and be like, "Oh babe, did you see this on Instagram? If I eat this, I'm gonna lose 20 pounds." Just bullshit stuff that pops up, and we're easily fooled, and we don't have enough time to really put forth to really do the deep dive on all these issues. So my suggestion is the people that potentially have an effect on the things that you cherish the most, definitely take the time on those. And then, if you got some time, you got to do a little, or if you care about everything, like everything's like part of you got to do a little dive on each one of these people, because you don't know what you're getting.
Yeah.
I mean,
and I think too, this isn't blowing smoke, something you probably won't say, but I'm one of those people. I don't get up in the morning and want to read 15 articles. And that's why it's important to belong to groups like HOWL that help you to understand it. They agree the same way. I mean, y'all make it so easy. Get an email, "Hey, I agree with that." Add my name to it, shoot a video and send it. And that is invaluable to hunters nowadays. But what I see a lot is too, and we just saw it the other night when he made the statement about Hunter Nation. So many people charge that, okay, we won the fight, and I'm like, no, there's probably an email coming up saying, "Hey, the fight's not over. Stay plugged in, and then be ready for the next fight next month." It's the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important to. And I'm not blowing smoke to kiss up to you. I'm thankful for groups like y'all that allow me to go watch a video of Sam shooting a deer instead of reading an article. Yep.
No, it's important. But the thing that's crazy is that we only we only get involved in, we only touch on what we know about. There's so many things going on that we don't know about. There's so many things that happen in other states that, we don't have our finger on the pulse. And unfortunately, we don't have the manpower to look into every single thing, and we don't have the funding to look into every single thing. So we try to, not that we pick and choose. We probably do actually. We do pick and choose some of the stuff that does come across the desk, and we're like, hey, we can't allot resources to that. We have to look at it and say, okay, somebody else is going to have to pick up this torch and run with it. So we do our best to try to inform the public. I mean, when we set out to do this, it was, let's create the easy button. Let's remove as many obstacles as possible so that people will take the time. And the shitty part about it is there's still millions of hunters and anglers out there that don't take the time and won't take the time unless it's a fight that's in their backyard.
That's it right there.
That's one thing that we talked about this, I think, last time or the time before that, Sam. We got to care about it all because we're all interconnected. We're all in this together. It doesn't matter if they're coming for deer hunting in Texas or they're coming for, bear hunting in Arizona or lion hunting in Colorado. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. I heard local hunters, I know myself, they're good guys. Sam knows them. Just say, I really could. They verbally said I could care less what happens in Utah. But I said,
Yeah.
well, a few months ago when they were wanting to defund Texas Parks and Wildlife, you were freaking out. Well, if you want your Utah brothers to come help you, then you got to stay in the fight for every other state.
Right.
Well,
right.
and not only that, but piggybacking off of everything that you guys have just said, like this is a Utah senator, and what he's putting out affects 11 different states.
Yeah.
And Texas isn't, Texas, the whole east side of the country, right? Doesn't really have a dog in the fight as far as locally. But if you're a hunter and outdoorsman, you do have a dog in this fight because they're your public lands. And I have been fortunate to hunt public land in Montana and Idaho and Colorado. And these experiences that I had on that are stuff I will remember for the rest of my life. Have I spent weeks and months of my life on these lands? No, I haven't. But the amount of people that these lands and the opportunity has an impact on is invaluable. Because on top of that, and Jesse, I mean, feel free to chime in because this is your wheelhouse, especially with some of this stuff. It's like, I can't afford to pay for an outfitter in Colorado every year or even every 5 years, depending on what I'm going after, right? I'm a blue collar hunter, but the opportunity to either draw a tag or get an over the counter tag, pick the state and go on a DIY hunt on public land on the cheap, that's an incredible experience. And just because just speaking generally, you as a hunter haven't done that yet, it doesn't mean that you're not planning on it or you won't want to one day or have the chance to go with your buddy someday. And if there's no land there to hunt, so many people are going to lose on the opportunity to experience the same thing that we've all either grown up loving or come to love in adulthood, whatever the case might be, whatever situation you're in. And that's, like you mentioned earlier, Jesse, we have to preserve this for the future, right? I want my son to be able to hunt public land in Idaho one day,
Right. And if you want to make it so that it's about something that you care about.
Yeah.
I could tell you right now, if I lose my ability to hunt public land in Arizona,
What makes
you think I'm not going to come to Texas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seen it happen. Yeah. And welcome with open arms. Love it. But the other complaint on public land is we're too crowded. Okay. So if you think Colorado's crowded now, wait for a few years if we lose a couple million acres.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, that mentality is sucks for you, but it doesn't affect me. It doesn't fly.
No,
Yeah,
not
doesn't
at all.
fly. And I've gone over with it a million times. And like I said, you could go back and listen to our previous conversations, but we're all in this together. I could connect the dots for you in 50 different ways. And I really don't want to go through that right now. I got tired of hearing myself say it. Um, it's the main thing that you need to realize is they're trying to remove your voice. And I say they. This is usually the anti-hunting. This is a public lands thing. This is not an anti-hunting thing, honestly. This is a money grab thing. But they like anti-hunters, they want to minimize your voice. And the easiest way to do that is to start picking off all the low-hanging fruit in all these other states. And you keep dwindling hunter numbers, the voice gets smaller and smaller. And then you become less and less relevant. And then eventually it's going to come to your state. And, there'll be nobody there to stand up for you. So,
Yeah.
but
No.
we'll leave that one alone.
Well,
Marinate there for a little bit.
I mean, no, I've told folks for sure, because I mean everybody's in the hunting community, especially those that were paying attention or personally invested in it in whatever capacity. The whole 127 thing happened, and we won. Like we beat them at their own game, essentially, at the
Yeah.
at the ballot box, and everybody, like, I was worried. I was like, oh man, we're gonna celebrate this one too hard, and we're not gonna be paying attention, because when they come back, it's gonna be in a different way, or it's gonna be harder and faster, and they're gonna be
Yeah.
stronger than they were before. And that's just we've touched on it a little bit already, but that's the battleground that this whole conservation field has turned into at this point, is this.
It'll never go away. You know why?
It'll
Because
never go away.
it's a business.
Yeah.
It's a business. And the business, and it's a business on both sides, unfortunately. And I hate to say that, but I said it earlier today or earlier on this podcast. There is money in turmoil. So what's the fastest way for me if I'm an anti-hunter, I'm going to show you the next obstacle that we need to, get money for this. We need to get money for that. And the only way we're going to be able to get our message out is if we have money and we have whatever. So it's always been for them, especially. Now we do a lot of like fundraising
Campaigns, yeah.
a lot of fundraising for habitat, propagating herds, putting more animals back on the mountain. That's awesome stuff, and you can get behind that very easily. But on the advocacy side, it's a constant battle of them having this money-making machine they can constantly fundraise on, and they're going to fundraise by saying, "Hey, this is going on, this is going on, this is going on," and we as hunters, we don't understand that. Like I've said this a million times, if it was about money, I would definitely go work for the other side. It's a way easier job. It is 100%. Hunters don't get the idea that in order to stop these crazy people that are trying to take away what you want to do, that we have to be engaged, we have to fund, and we have to take action. And like I said earlier, the only way we do that is when we feel like we're personally being attacked, when they're taking something away from us. Then we're the first to run up. And actually, not even, not even. Even then, there's still many of us that I think wait for somebody else to do it. It's just it's a shitty all around situation, because we have there's this business model that on the anti-hunting side, and it took me some time to realize that. I didn't realize that was the case. Like, when I got into hunting, or excuse me, when I got into HOWL for Wildlife, and Charles and I kind of dreamt this thing up, it was not, it still is, but we wanted to protect hunting. Like that's what we wanted to do. And we didn't realize that it wasn't just people and their ideals wanting to come against hunters, that these are big or money making organizations that really want to take away what you're doing, but then they don't want to take away everything because then they lose their ability to fundraise. It's like me personally, and Charles has said it a million times, I'd love to put myself out of business.
Yeah.
I would love there for
Yeah.
never to be no need for HOWL for wildlife because we don't have something to fight. You know,
Yeah.
that's my goal. That's my hope. But
Such
And like
isn't
you said, you
not the case.
put the tinfoil on, but you don't have to be involved with groups like HOWL for long to realize it's not the fight of people who want these animals to be safe or anti-hunters because of PETA or whatever anymore. It's all about money. It is all about money. They could care less if something goes extinct, whatever it is. It's all about lining their pockets. And you realize real fast that's what these fights are
well,
about.
that's what the organization's about. Now, the people that are following, they do have that ideal, like, oh, I just want to stop you from killing, Bambi or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, but that's what they do. Their business is tugging on the heartstrings of these
Yep.
people.
They play into the emotions. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Like the dog shelter commercial.
yeah.
ASPCA.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
again, yeah.
Exactly. So, anyway,
Yeah.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to the show. Hope you guys are enjoying it. There's so many different places that you guys can tune in to Fall Obsession Podcast, and one of them is the Outdoor Call radio app. Outdoors Dan from Respect the Game TV, he created an app that you can download on any device where you can stream hunting shows and podcasts on a loop every single day. Our show, Fall Obsession Podcast, plays on that loop on Mondays. That's the same day as our new publications on the other apps. And there's also tons of other hunting shows and podcasts on there that you guys can listen to. Go download the Outdoor Call radio app today. It is free. You can start streaming immediately. And be sure that you follow their Facebook page because Outdoors Dan does some live radio shows throughout the week. And even if you are not local to those radio stations, his broadcasts are shared on his Facebook Live. It's Outdoors Dan and the Outdoor Call radio app. Go download it today.
yeah, your show, man.
No, it's a battle, man. It's a fight and it's ongoing. And I mean, we definitely, like I said, or you mentioned it, the folks listening to this more than likely have an understanding on the public land situation and everything already. And I hope that this episode is an encouragement to them to stand their ground and to not let off on the gas yet. Jesse, I do want to give you a chance to share anything that you have. I feel like John and I have talked for talked for a lot,
feel
but
like
but
I rambled on.
I mean, you are you're an avid public land hunter a lot down here in Texas, but you have invested time and money and effort into other states as well on their public lands and stuff. Um, what do you have for the average guy in whatever random state that's listening to this?
Probably two things. And I'm the first person to admit it. I've been a hunter all my life, and I probably really didn't get involved with this topic till the last 5 or 6 years. And we have, John might know a stat. I would just be interested to see of the percentage of hunters, how many of those people are involved in a conservation group and they're practicing conservation and access. And there's no shame in if you don't know better, but I'm not a political person. I don't talk politics. It's not my thing. I don't enjoy it. Shame on me, I guess. But I can't tell you how many people I push to say, hey, that's okay, but you do love hunting.
Mm-hmm.
Go get involved on a HOWL. It's a group that enjoys following this. I don't know if enjoy is the right word, but they have the effort, the ability to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it almost sometimes I feel lazy. I'm like, oh, sure, I could send that email. Done. Cool. Post it on Instagram. But that's what I understand HOWL wants to be able to be that bridge to where guys make the effort. So I would encourage guys, it's a shame you've missed out on years on being involved, but tonight's the night. Go join that membership, get involved, because every voice matters on it. And it's like you said earlier, you're not going to agree with everything. Any group you join, it doesn't matter if it's a racquetball group, a pickleball group, or a hunting group. You're not going to agree with everything.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're fighting the same fight with you and you align with them, just get involved. Don't. It's going to be harsh because I got some flack on it. I posted something on Instagram the other day. Don't call yourself a hunter and an outdoorsman if you're not actively trying to protect and fight for that. You're a killer at that point, in my opinion. You're not fighting the fight to. And I'm not saying that to be politically correct, but someone that is a true outdoorsman gets involved in this stuff. So don't be intimidated by it. It's intimidating writing a senator. I was intimidated by it the first time I did it. I did it before there was groups I knew about that would write letters. And I remember bringing it to my dad, who writes all kinds of things, and said, hey, does this sound stupid? I'm about to send this to a senator. And he's like, no, that sounds great. Well, there's groups now that help you do that. Just join and be a part of it and stay active in each fight. It's worth it because, like Sam said, a DIY elk hunt may not be on your radar right now, but it will be one day, and you're going to want to have that access.
Yep. Very well said, man. Very well said.
It all plays in each other. My brain keeps spinning, not to beat a dead horse. It's just like, I mean, you talked about it earlier. Guys that, if they take away public lands, well, those guys that could hunt there before, where are they going now? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you don't want to go hunt in Utah or Colorado or Arizona, but somebody who did is now going to the spot that you wanted to go to, and your chances just went down to be able to do that. And I mean, it's the ripple effect, man. It's gonna impact everywhere. So
Yeah, of course. And then the other thing is it sets precedents, right? So they might come for X amount of million acres in the West, but what if they start picking off stuff in the Midwest or in the East?
Mhm.
Like we're not talking about huge tracts of land anymore, right? And if you take away 1,000 acres of a 10,000 acre WMA or whatever, it's like, it's like that's a
Well,
big chunk.
and I don't want to give them any ideas. I doubt they listen to the Fall Obsession podcast, of course, but it's also like, man, you start talking about those areas, right? And that geographical, or what, I can't talk, whatever the word is. Yeah, that area of land, right? It's not mountainous anymore. You want to talk about affordable housing.
Yeah.
Might be a little more realistic for you to pull that off if that is your argument, right? So yeah,
and closer to population centers. That's what he said that. I want to, population centers.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, John, where I'm at in North Texas, within 3 hours of me, this sounds like a lot, but if you're a hunter, it's not a lot. If I want a deer hunt on public land within 3 hours of me, I max out about 110,000 acres. Like, that could be gone like that.
Oh, yeah.
Down here. One of them sells. Like, my main public land hunting is 27,000 acres.
Mm-hmm.
Lose that, then it's.
I mean, even if it
Sam
was
aren't taking our kids hunting. Yeah.
Even if they took half of it, right? It's like, it's a lot.
Yeah.
10% of it. It's a lot.
What does it say? Give an inch, they'll take a mile.
Sure. Yeah, we definitely have to, squash this and make sure that it doesn't go any further. You got to go to HOWL Action Center, send a video. There's a link on there that has all the Republican senators. And again, I'm not trying to make this a Republican or Democrat thing, but it's a party line bill. So call up the Republican senators, say, hey, I'm so-and-so. I oppose this. Please, consider opposing it. And, just be respectful and leave a quick message. And you're not going to talk to anybody. I mean, you might, especially now that they're in session. More than likely, you're not going to speak to somebody. Going to leave a voicemail, short and sweet, move on. Write yourself a little script if you have to. Not that hard.
Yeah.
That the whole, you were kind of touching on it earlier, Jesse. I don't really know that many people more busy than I am. And I've said this before, and I'm not saying it so I can pat myself on the back. But if you're passionate about something, you find the time to do it. I'm telling my kids all the time, like, you want to be good at something, you gotta spend the time. You're passionate about something, you gotta spend the time. And I make time. I have family. I've got 3 kids, wife. I got 3 businesses, and I'm vice president of HOWL Wildlife. Got a podcast. I know I got a lot. I got a lot of plates up in the air. Okay, but I still find the time to do what is necessary. And in this instance, it doesn't like I posted that thing on Instagram, and I did it from me dialing, and that's how because I wanted to show people how easy it was. It took a minute and 37 seconds, I think it was. A minute and 37 seconds of your life
Yeah.
to protect what you want to do. Like it's not that hard, So don't
And
don't use that excuse. You know you can do it. Just do it.
yeah.
Simple as that.
And John, I'll give you a plug too, because I know you probably won't, but how can people help how more? There's always the question at the end. You send the email and it says, probably the question y'all hate asking, would you consider donating? We know that's important and everybody needs to take that next step, but how do we help y'all keep doing what you're doing?
I mean, honestly, I have never, of all this time that I've, made my rounds in the last few years, been on podcasts or whatever, I very rarely talk about donating to us or I always give people the free option. We want people to be involved. And that's the truth. We really do. We want people to be involved. I don't need this. I'm not trying to do this. I haven't taken a cent from it. Charles hasn't taken a cent from it, but it takes a shit ton of money.
Yeah,
Excuse my French. And the only way that it could go to the next level or even really even continue where it's at is through people donating. And there's 16 million hunters in the United States. If 5 million of them, maybe even less than that, 1 million, honestly, if 1 million of them were paid members, $30 a year, that would be a substantial resource. We can actually start hiring more people. We can get involved in more things. We can. I don't know if I ever talked to you about this or not, Sam, but we've been trying to pilot a program called Hunting is Human, and that is us talking to the non-hunting public, bridging that gap between hunters and the non-hunting public to give them an understanding of what hunting's about so that when we talked about it earlier, when they're faced with those decisions at the ballot or whatever, that they're going to be like, okay, well, I know so and so, or I heard this. I don't believe this propaganda that I'm being, fed. Yeah, that's it's in a nutshell. Like I hate it. I hate being hat in hand. I hate asking people for money. That's the least my least favorite thing to do. And just recently, I've actually been tasked uh, with getting hunts donated for our our banquets and giveaways because that's not something we never wanted to do that. I didn't want to do banquets. I didn't want to do giveaways. That's what everybody else does. And I hate that. I hate that model. It drives me insane that we have to like I don't incentivize the hunting community. Hey, you have the ability to win this if you give me X amount of money, and obviously that money is going to go to conservation or go to our efforts. It's not necessarily conservation; it's advocacy. Um, but the education, all that stuff, and but I hate that we have to incentivize people to do that. Where it should just be like, you know what? I believe in what Hal's doing. I like getting those emails. I like the fact that there's somebody researching this stuff for me, making it simple for me. I like the fact that there's somebody out there talking to the non-hunting public because I don't have the time or I don't have the resources. I might not be the best person to talk about it. Whatever your reason is, if you donate to Howl, the money goes to that stuff. It doesn't go to lining my pockets. It doesn't go to lining Charles. We don't have, the only paid staff we have are the people that we pay to do things. Everybody else is a volunteer. And, you know, I just, I feel like I'm a broken record. I just don't want to ask people for money, but it takes money.
Yeah.
It takes a lot.
That's why I wanted to ask for you, because I know you wouldn't want to do that, but it takes money. If you're listening to this, get involved. Don't buy your coffee that week. Don't do something. It's worth it.
Yeah. I mean, in all honesty, like I said, if a million people had a paid membership, we'd be better off. I'll give you a statistic. So, we have that free membership and we want people to get involved. I really do. Like if you cannot financially support HOWL, at the very least, we want you to get involved and have your voice be heard. We have like 50,000 or something like that members, but the lion's share of that is free memberships. And so even if the people that were already bought into when I say bought in, I don't mean like we convinced them. They understand what we're doing. The people that are already supporting us or already getting involved, they need to become paid members. That would help out tremendously. You've already used the platform. You've already benefited from it. You see what it's about. I mean, nowadays, what the hell's $30 for the whole year? Like, I literally paid $8 for water today. Like, I used to buy a burrito, at Filiberto's or whatever for $3.50. It's literally $15 now. So, it's not, $30 is really not that much in the grand scheme of things. So, man, I feel almost dirty asking people or telling people. I don't want to shame people for it, but
I'll echo everything that Jesse just said, and again, just a last call for folks to. I mean, we've talked in this podcast about how everybody wants information now. They want to know what they need to know now. They don't want to read or work for it. They want somebody to tell it to them. And then John, you even talked about how you guys are doing giveaways and that kind of stuff because you feel like you have to almost incentivize some stuff and that doesn't feel right, but that's the boat that you're in. I'm just asking our listeners, don't be that guy. Don't be that guy that thinks that you have to have a chance to win a hunt to, spend $30 a year or whatever it would end up being, right?
Yeah.
You are what you get out of it doesn't have to be a hunt. What you get out of it is somebody that's advocating at a higher level than you're capable of doing. So that's my 2 cents on the matter. So
I appreciate it, guys. I do.
Absolutely, man. Well, and I know we are there, if not past our time I normally shoot for on these things, but it has been a hearty and wholesome discussion, I believe, and very beneficial. But either you guys got anything for the greater good or for our listeners before we close it down?
Yeah, just make sure you don't take your foot off the pedal and call those senators and go on the HOWL Action Center and send the video to it'll send it directly to your senators. It's super easy. It's only set to record for 60 seconds. So just put something together, talk from the heart and just be respectful and it'll do wonders. So
absolutely.
Thank you both. Appreciate you.
You got Jesse, you got anything?
Nope. He said it. It was a good talk. I enjoyed it.
Awesome. Well, gentlemen, I really appreciate y'all's time. Thank y'all for joining me for this podcast. We're going to get it out ASAP. That way people can get the message out and keep spreading the word. So we do have
a new fight next month.
Yeah. If it's not this, it'll be something else, right? So I'm sure we'll have you back on here, both y'all, but I'm sure we'll have you back on here before too long, John, over whatever issue comes up next. So
thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Well, thank y'all for listening to another Fall Obsession podcast. Hit the share button. Make sure everybody's hearing the message. Be back with you guys again next week.